Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to do something super important. We're going to give your Go application a memory. We're diving into how to connect it to one of the most reliable and widely used databases out there, MySQL. Let's get right into it.
So picture this. You've built this awesome web app. It's fast, it's sleek, but it has one tiny problem. It's forgetful. A user signs up, closes their browser, and when they come back, your app has no clue who they are. It's a classic case of application amnesia.
But don't worry, there's a cure for this forgetfulness, and it's called a database. A database gives our applications the long-term memory they desperately need to store user info, content, you name it. Today, we're going to perform that surgery and fix this amnesia for good.
Okay, but before we jump into any code, we've got to understand why. Why does our app even need this memory in the first place? Let's take a quick look at the problems the database actually solves.
And the answer is, well, it's pretty much everything that makes an app useful, right? If you want to store blog posts or product listings, any content that changes, you need a database. A user fills out a contact form, that data's got to go somewhere. And most importantly, managing user accounts, storing usernames and passwords securely. A database is absolutely essential. It's the foundation for any kind of persistent, personalized experience.
All right, enough theory. Let's get our hands dirty. The very first step is to build that bridge between our Go application and our MySQL database. We got to make the connection.
You know, Go has a really clever way of dealing with databases. It comes with this built-in package, database/SQL, which is kind of like a universal remote. It's got all the standard buttons, connect, query, close, that work for any SQL database. But to control our specific TV, our MySQL database, we need the TV's manual. That's the driver. It's a separate package that translates those universal commands specifically for MySQL.
So, first things first, we got to get that manual. We just pop open our terminal and run this simple command, go get. This downloads and installs the MySQL driver, and just like that, it's ready for our Go application to use. Easy peasy.
Okay, with the driver installed, it's a two-step process. First, we use sql.open. Now, this is like dialing the database's phone number. It gets everything ready, but it doesn't actually make the call. The second step, db.ping, is what actually makes that call. It sends a tiny little signal to the database just to say, hey, you there? If we don't get an error back, we know we have a live connection.
Yes, we're connected. The door is open. But right now, we're basically standing in an empty room. So the next logical step is to build some furniture, a structure to actually hold our data inside the database.
So, here's the blueprint for our data's new home. We're going to create a users table, which you can think of like a filing cabinet. Each column is a specific piece of information we want to store. A unique ID to label each user, their username, their password, and a created at timestamp, so we know exactly when they joined.
Now, how do we turn that blueprint into an actual table? Simple. We take that SQL command we just designed and we hand it over to Go. We use the db.exec function, which literally just means execute this command. Go sends our blueprint over to MySQL, and the database builds the table for us.
Okay, the table's built. Our filing cabinet is ready to go. Now for the most important part, managing the files inside. We're going to walk through the core operations, creating, reading, and, well, we'll get to deleting data too.
To make this all feel a bit more real, let's invent our very first user. We'll call him John Doe. We're going to follow his journey from the second his account gets created to the moment we look him up in the database, and eventually how we remove his account. But wait, before we do anything, we have to talk about security. Seriously, this is non-negotiable. And Go helps us out big time here by using something called prepared statements. Think of it like this. Instead of just shoving user data into the database, we hand it to a security guard first. The guard checks it, cleans it up, and makes sure it's totally safe before putting it away. This stops a ton of common attacks. It's incredibly important.
The magic, the absolute key to this is how we write our SQL. See those question marks? Those are placeholders. We are not putting the user's data directly into the query string itself. Instead, we're creating a safe template and telling the database, hey, I'm going to give you a username, a password, and a timestamp to put right here. That's the core of a prepared statement. And here's what that looks like in our actual Go code. We use db.exec again, but this time after our query template, we pass in the real data, John Doe, his password, and the current time. Go's driver then safely slots this data into those question marks, making sure everything is secure.
And just like that, our first user is officially in the database.
All right, so John Doe is in the system. How do we get him back out? Well, Go gives us two main tools for this. If you know you're looking for just one specific thing, one user, one product, you use db.queryRow. It's like asking for a single specific file. But if you want a whole list of things like all users or all posts, you use db.query. That's like asking for the entire filing cabinet drawer.
So, to find just one user, our query looks like this. The select part says which columns we want, but the key part is that where clause at the end. We're telling the database, I only want the user where the ID is this specific number. This is going to return, at most, one single row.
But what if we want to see all of our users? Well, that's even simpler. We use the same select statement, but we just get rid of the where clause. This query just tells the database, don't filter anything. Just give me everybody.
And boom! This is what we get back. A nice, clean, structured set of results. Our Go app gets this data, and we can then loop through each row to show a list of users, fill out a dashboard, whatever we need. We see our friend John Doe, and hey, look, a new user, Alice. It's working perfectly.
All right, last step. Let's complete the lifecycle. To remove a user, we go back to our trusty db.exec function. The command is super direct. Delete from users where ID equals question mark. We tell it exactly which user to remove using their unique ID, and the database handles the rest. John Doe's journey with us is complete.
Okay, let's just pause for a second and take a breath. We have covered a ton of ground, from the why, to the how, to the actual execution. So what have we really learned? And more importantly, what can you go and do with this knowledge right now?
So, what are the big takeaways here? Let's break it down. First, Go has a really smart standard way to talk to any SQL database using its database/SQL package. Second, you just plug in the specific driver for whatever database you're using. Third, and I can't say this enough, always use prepared statements with those question mark placeholders. It'll keep your app secure. And finally, the day-to-day workflow is simple. You use X whenever you're changing data, creating, updating, deleting, and you use query when you're just reading it. Look, you now have the single most fundamental skill for building real dynamic web applications. You can give your app a memory, you can build user accounts, content management systems, e-commerce sites, basically anything that needs to remember information. So the only question left is, what problem are you going to solve first?